here as we go on. Good evening. We'll call to order at 6:35 PM, our special meeting of the Tulare City Council. Welcome members of the public, staff, and council members. And with that, we will go to item 2, which is public comment pertaining to closed session items. Comments are limited to items to be discussed in closed session. Speaker will be allowed 3 minutes for each item. If you are not physically in attendance, but listening online or through the phone, you may call 559-366-1849. Do we have anyone in chambers who wishes to speak on the special meeting item or pertaining to closed session items? Madam Clerk, do we have anyone on the phone? Okay, so with that, we'll go to recess to closed session to discuss the following. 3.1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation per government code, section 54956.9. Council, do we have anything else to note before we go into closed session? Hearing none, we will go to closed session. Good evening and welcome to the Tulare City Council for Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. We want to welcome members of the public, staff, fellow council members. And with that is we will start off our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation, and please welcome. Yes. Wow, all right. Technical order. So we need to, sorry, stick to the script. All right, we need to reconvene from closed session. Number 5 is a closed session report. Council, do we have anything to report from closed session?
Nothing to report, Mayor.
All right, so we will adjourn our closed session. That's why we were late coming back in. We will then go to call to order. Any government and civic students in here as we go through the process. Now we will go to the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our Fire Chief, Ott, and if you'd please remain standing for our invocation by Steve Doyce, pastor of Tulare Community Church. Chief Ott.
Of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Let's pray together. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, how good you are and how grateful we are in this evening to meet in this place. We're grateful, Lord, for your gifts to us as a community. Pray that you'd find us faithful in leadership and with a great deal of wisdom to make this a place safe and where young kids like those behind me can thrive and grow. Lord, we're thankful for them. We're thankful for these young ball players and for their achievement and for the gifts you've given them. And we do pray that you would use that which they've learned on the ball field, Lord, the discipline and the hard work and teamwork and adversity and all of that, Lord, to continue to grow as young men who would serve their community well. Again, Lord, find each of us faithful in the call that you have for us. Pray that you give each of the city council members this evening and staff a great deal of wisdom as they lead us. Thank you for them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Moving forward to number 9 on our agenda is proclamations and recognitions. And with that, we have recognition to Tulare Baseball Association's 9-year-old All-Stars for accomplishments. Come down front. All right, Tulare Baseball Association 9-year-olds, why don't you all come up? Good to have you here this evening. Yeah, come up to the front here. Yeah. This is why I messed up on the agenda. I was so excited that you guys were here. Forgot that I have to follow orders and they make me put on a suit jacket and brush my teeth and comb my hair so I'd look all nice for you guys being here tonight. So welcome. What an exciting achievement. And what we have for you young men is a certificate of recognition from the city of Tulare on behalf of the citizens of Tulare for your outstanding contribution and achievement as a member of the Tulare 9U Cal Ripken All-Star Team. Your dedication, hard work, and teamwork were essential to your team's success in becoming the 9U Cal Ripken World Series champions. Congratulations on your well-deserved success. And with that, I'm going to invite your coaches to come up and speak because we have these official certificate for all you find young men, and let your coaches kind of share the experience and hand these out. So with our coaches, who would like to come up? Josh, you're the spokesperson for the team? All right, welcome. Yeah, tell us all the good stuff that happened.
Well, first and foremost, this is one of this year's hats, so we wanted to bring you guys a hat just as a small token of appreciation for what you guys have done for us this year and the support you guys have provided to these boys. So wear it around town, up on the desk, in the office,
I-
as you see fit, but
I
we
can
want to
do
give you a
that.
little something.
Is that Yeah, yeah. All right.
There you go. So the boys this year, we traveled back to Florence, Alabama, for the,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, sorry. No problem. So this year, we traveled back to Florence, Alabama for the Cal Ripken 9-year-old Little League World Series. And we faced teams from all over the US in a tournament that lasted about 10 days. The boys started off very strong and finished strong at the very end, beating Central Oahu in the championship series game. So they worked really hard all season. This group of boys last year won the Pacific Southwest region, which is what helped us get to the World Series this year. And their hard work last year and this year resulted in going to the World Series, and we got to win and bring it home back to back. So Tulare 9-year-olds won it last year in Florence, Alabama, and then our 9-year-olds won it again this year. So it's pretty neat. As we were walking through, they have an opening ceremonies the night before pool play starts, or a practice game starts. And we got to walk through, and there were some of our boys that had been given special awards and then notified of, or, shown where the Tulare 9-year-olds won last year. So for our boys to get to do it again and put Tulare on the map for baseball was really something special for us and something special for the city. So we appreciate your guys' support, and that's really about it. Thank
So
you.
if we would, yeah, I mean, what I thought is if you want to read off the certificates and then
Okay.
you got some coaches, and then what we'll do is at the end, we'll applaud all of you guys together. How's
Okay.
that? So they get their recognition.
Thank you. Bo Barcelos. Blake Bratton. Christopher Gomez. Max DeGroot and Trent DeGroot are not here this evening. Jace DeWitt. Cooper Pareto. Lorenzo Para. Jackson saved. Caleb Sanchez. Logan Samoys. Ember Treo. Ray Veveda. Coach Aaron Veveda. Myself. Isaac Pareto. And Brandon Sandoval. So again, thank you very much, Mayor. We appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. With that, on behalf of all of our council members in the city of Tulare, congratulations back to back, putting Tulare on the map and being champions. So with that, everybody, good job, guys. And we'll,
And this year's, I forgot also, but our victory this year gives us an entry into the 10-year-old World Series next year that'll take place in Indiana. So we look forward to that as well.
repeat.
Yeah.
Nice. And we'll pause for a moment if you want to get some pictures up front with your trophy here in the city. And if other council members want to come down and take a picture real quick.
Come on up,
And
please.
let your have family here, they can come up as well.
Just leave an opening where they can see it. Okay, guys?
While you're fooling with the hat, I think we have a consensus here that throughout this meeting, you should wear that hat.
Keep the hat. There we go. Yeah. I need to get a baseball signed by the whole team because we can put it up here. You know, it's 1989. My dad coached they used to have like Babe Ruth, but they would have city leagues for like when teenagers, we got a high school, 18, 19-year-olds. So Riverside, California, 1989, my dad was the coach for the 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. And I remember going to their practice, and this was inner city, a lot of troubled youth, troubled kids. I remember kids being arrested at baseball practice because sheriff's department would show up. And I don't mean to choke up. The choke up part, which I think we'd understand, is a memory that stuck with me as a young man who was a pitcher. Never forgot. Was at baseball practice. Sheriff's department came to arrest him, and him apologizing to my dad because he said, I just wanted to play baseball. And so he stole a car to get to baseball practice. And that was the event that had taken place. The other part I'll share with you is that team of motley crew of players went undefeated and won the entire championship and never lost a game. And I think it goes to show sportsmanship and that collaboration, team, purpose, and meaning of what can happen. And impressed me as a 14-year-old. I have a team baseball that the entire team signed as a champion. And as I'm 50 years old and it being 36 years later, I still have that baseball with me as a close possession. Goes to show, I think it's what can happen and just a different side, different stories with that. So really respect our youth leagues and even young adult leagues of when people come together. Moving forward,
You did a very good job of presenting that story, but in a roundabout way, you let everybody know you're the youngest council member sitting.
Yeah, that's good. Number 10, public comment. Members of the public wishing to comment on any item not appearing on the agenda may address the city council at this time. State law prevents council from acting on any matter not on the agenda. However, your comments may be referred to staff for follow-up. This is also the time for the public to comment on items listed under the consent calendar or to receive request an item from the consent calendar be pulled. If you are not in attendance, you may call 559-366-1849 and the clerk will assist you with your call. Do we have anyone in chamber who wishes to make public comment? Madam Clerk, do we have anyone on the phone? Okay. With that, we'll move to item 11.1 presentations, Tulare County Regional Transportation Agency update.
Council, I'm very pleased this evening to have Derek Winning from TCRTA with us. He's going to provide you an update on sort of where TCRTA is at today in terms of regional transit and specifically the work of, you'll remember the city manager ad hoc committee that was formed over a year or so ago to help TCRTA sort of re-examine all their financials, think about, the direction of the organization and sort of report out on their findings. And that's really what Derek is here to do today. And we're pleased and lucky to have him. Derek.
Thank you so much for that intro, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, everyone else here today. It's a privilege to be here. My name is Derek Winning. I'm the executive director of TCRTA, and I have a brief presentation for you. Mark asked me to come talk about this, sort of what were ultimately the findings of this endeavor. I believe everyone's received a copy of the memo. It sort of outlines everything. There's 6 main sections. So what's the finance TAC reconciliation? They formed a subcommittee of several members. They're all accountants for the most part. And they looked through TCRTA's books from their first operating year, 2022 through 2024. And they literally went invoice by invoice and tried to recreate and redocument the past. They did a very good job of that. Sort of during that process, basically the books were balanced. So there was a carryover balance calculated from that time period. And in the memo, there's a table, the first table sort of outlines that there's about, there at that point, at the end of fiscal year 24, there was about $8.3 million in carryover balances for various members. Also sort of what came out of the work of that effort is kind of leading into the next section, member revenue contributions, was sort of how to calculate member contributions. And so the team worked together trying to understand the language in the JPA, and they settled on basically 3 sections in this reconciliation workbook or the analysis. One is fair revenues and other types of revenues that come off the top. And then a direct cost section, which is basically our transdev contract, so our operators contract and fuel. And then pretty much all the rest of the what we call more indirect costs were categorized in the same category. The direct costs, the formula for that is every member pays according to the hours that their service consumes. So it's directly your percent hours for the type of service, if you have fixed route or if you have microtransit or both. For the indirect section, it's a 50-50 formula. So 50% of those costs are spread amongst members based on their service hours, and 50% based on their population. So that section has a bit of a sharing effect. It also, quite frankly, makes it easier for us to run the agency from an accounting standpoint. It's not very easy. The group found this to break every invoice we get 7 different ways. The next section, the fiscal budget. So you may recall the city managers group asked TCRTA for their 25 budget to just readopt their 24 budget, while that would give the ad hoc committee time to do the reconciliation. We were able to have the reconciliation was substantially done, I'd say, by February of 25. By May of 25, we were able to go to the TCRTA board with a budget amendment that was since revised in August with actuals. So we were able to, utilizing the same methodology the city managers TAC produced, TCRTA staff was able to replicate that for the 25 year with actual numbers. And we're working together to get our TDA claims approved by TCAG and TCRTA at their September meetings based on that same methodology. So, sort of through item 3 there, together working with the city manager's TAC, we've formulated a reconciliation of the past through FY24. We've been able to replicate that methodology and get an approved budget amendment through fiscal year 25. We've also used that actual fiscal 25 budget as a basis. We updated it for known cost increases, and we were able to approve a fiscal 26 budget also in August. So we're really excited about that. I think it's fair to say that the agency's turned a corner financially, and we do appreciate all of the efforts of the finance tax subcommittee in particular. These guys worked really hard over several months in their spare time, right? They all had regular government jobs. So we really appreciate that. 4 through 6 there, City of Porterville settlement. We worked closely with the City of Porterville on that utilizing the same methodology that was developed sort of in tandem. And we were able to get a settlement agreement with them. And as it turns out, the details are in the memo. But as it turns out, that final number was very close to their carryover balance. We are still working with them on some ancillary capital programs that weren't a part of the settlement agreement. And we endeavor to calculate any amounts that may need to go back to Porterville, probably around the $200,000 level. Item number 5, TCRTA operating reserve. In particular, I was able to use this financial system to develop a simple cash flow model. As far as I know, that had never been done before by TCRTA. I was able to speak with the city managers group as a whole and show them our cash flow needs in black and white, and they've been very supportive. And indeed, we've worked together to build an almost $10 million reserve for fiscal 26. That is designed to enable us to not dip much below $3 million in any one month during the year, which is starting to come on about 2 months worth of expenses. So we're also really happy that we've been able to agree on that. And then finally, service levels. I have a bit on it a little bit in a couple more slides. But basically, we've been working hard with member agencies on the service levels. A couple of examples in the memo are the city of Woodlake. We've made some adjustments to their service hours. And also recently, the city of Dinuba has added a new high school loop to provide access 2 trips per day in the morning and the evening to the high school. And we're also have embarked on a short range transit plan a couple of months ago. We're sort of still in this data gathering stage, but our consultants tasked with redesigning our system to try to make it more cost effective and efficient, working within the current cost structure. So there'll be more to come on that, and certainly will come before you, after we've worked with staff, when we have a draft of that plan ready to talk about transit in the city of Tulare moving forward. So with that, that really covers the finance TAC update. I don't know if there were any questions in particular on that. I was hoping to spend just a few more minutes talking about what we've been doing in Tulare in particular, aside from kind of going over past financial history.
Council, the memo that Derek is referring to was provided to you on Friday, or I'm sorry, when did I send it out? Saturday, as part of the weekly report. So if any of you haven't seen it or don't have it, I'm happy to send that to you again. So I realize that, you may not have had a chance to absorb it yet. They may not have questions, or they may have.
Sure, I got you. I do have a few copies here. I'd be happy to leave them as well. It's about 5 pages or so, and it does have some tables in it, but I think it's written and it's relatively easy for anyone to understand. Sort of what's been going on in the city of Tulare. I did sort of broach on the short range transit plan. What do we mean by cost effective? We have certain metrics in transit. One is cost per passenger. So that sort of tries to get at the nuts and bolts of how much does it really cost to transport one person, one trip. And then the efficient system, how do we measure that? That's usually done by passengers per hour. So how many folks are you moving every hour on your various routes? So we'll be taking a close look at those. We also probably for the first time are going to try to use big data to ascertain travel patterns in our region, and also to ascertain travel demand, and take a look at our current design and how we might make improvements to it. Really though, with the short range transit plan, sort of with the coming on of micro transit, we're really trying to look at what's the right fit for our demand and our riders. Fixed route, micro transit. Fixed route tends to work really well where you have an established route where many people are utilizing it, maybe to key destinations in town. Microtransit is very convenient. It can be quite a bit more convenient, door-to-door trips, and that will come and get you in 30 minutes. So sort of trying to find the right mix of that for all of our areas within the region is really what the short-range transit plan is going to boil down to. We've also been working real closely with City of Tulare staff. I'd like to thank them publicly here. They've been great. On the Tulare Transit Center, we've got a few comments on unmet needs, and so we've sort of trained our eye on it. And these are some of the things that we're working on. I should be going to TCRTA board in September for the surveillance system. So we're going to upgrade all of the security cameras and recording equipment. The city's working on doing some interior updates, flooring and paint and that type of a thing. We've already got the city got trash cans installed back, and we've engaged with our contractor to clean twice a day instead of once. And also Manny's been great on taking a look out over there on the code enforcement side. So I don't get a chance to come down here that often, but the last couple of times I've been down here, I've noticed a difference, and it's much appreciated.
Why did you pick a 50-year-old picture for the presentation?
I was just Googling around real quick and I thought this was a really cool picture, and
Yeah, 50, it's probably 75-year-old picture.
I think it is from the 1950s. So you're closer to 70, almost 70 years. Yeah. And then if you had a little bit of extra time, I kind of gave some of this presentation to the TCAG board recently, but we're also engaged in some regional efforts with Visalia Transit and Porterville Transit. These are sort of the topics that we're covering. Probably, I'm actually amazed this is happening, but the three agencies, at least at the staff level, have agreed on passenger fares levels uniform. All of us will have the same $1.50 local pass. Right now there's $1.50, $1.75, or $2. The same types of passes, day pass, week pass, month pass, for the same cost. And that's sort of as a prelude toward having a mobile payment platform and being able to program that so folks can transverse between Tulare Transit and Visalia Transit seamlessly and have many options on how to pay. We're also working on microtransit intercity coordination with both Visalia and Porterville. Ultimately, we hope to have an integrated microtransit service with the city of Visalia, whereby we each supply a certain number of vans, and we let the algorithm in the app determine which of those vans is more optimum to do the trip. And that's an effort to cut down on deadhead time. There's a lot of time where a van in microtransit's waiting there to be hailed for a ride. And this would allow a Tulare van that goes up to Visalia not to have to come right back, but might take a trip back or take a trip within Visalia. And then we're also doing some coordinated outreach. We hope to be at the Oktoberfest in tandem, showcasing microtransit for some of the folks that may need ride home after. So with that, that's my presentation. I don't know if there were any questions.
Have you done anything in relation to having transit during the concerts that we're putting on in Tulare?
That's interesting. We could do perhaps something similar with microtransit. We haven't really explored that at all. This is the first time I've heard the idea, although I am aware of the concert series itself. And I think we've talked about perhaps advertising on some of the buses.
Yeah, having a pickup spot in a couple of places in Visalia and loading them up and bringing them over to Tulare would be a very good idea.
Yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't be possible. We do special events, several times per year. So we are getting better at it. That's an interesting idea.
Any other comments or questions, council members? Mark.
Just a couple comments. Derek, so you're working on sort of the next plan, the regional plan over the next year, as I understand. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
it'll be substantially complete probably by early summer. We'll probably have a
Okay.
draft.
Okay, early summer.
And that
So-
governs about 5 years of what types of services. It has a capital program. So what kind of buses are we buying? over
And there'll
those
be some
years?
opportunities in that process to have some workshops in Tulare, come back to council, kind of update them on where to get their input, all that through that
Of course,
process.
of
Okay.
course.
And then right now in your $10 million reserve fund, that includes the $3 million loan, I believe, that the city provided. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So council, you'll recall that in the past, in prior councils as well, there was a decision made that all of the dollars, the LTF dollars, et cetera, that the city receives pretty much had moved to TCRTA. At some point, we'll have to revisit that discussion, potentially depending on what that plan ultimately looks like. And of course, we'll need to have a discussion about those loan funds. Do those loan funds get repaid, or does the city forgive them? We haven't really had that full in-depth conversation. So just to remind council of it and to put it on your radar, that's for a future discussion.
That's a great topic. It's common in transit. The way I look at it, it's codified as a loan because that's documenting that non-transit funds were made available to TCRTA for cash flow purposes. But I would imagine that we will always need a reserve fund, and more than likely we'll just sort of, for lack of a better term, what do you call it? Refinance that loan and continue to document that those funds are for reserve purposes.
Will they be consolidated, or will there be separate reserves that have been provided by each member city?
So right now, it's kind of a collection of different sources. So the base is the loans that were done in the past. Not all members have contributed to that, but other members are contributing. Basically, we can receive more state transit assistance funds from them than they consume, services they consume. And so we are kind of banking some of those up as well. So we kind of want to make that burden on any one member as low as possible. Perhaps in the future, the cash flow model is built on a semi-annual drawdown for reimbursement. That's my goal, my first year for 26. If we can get better at that and pull funds down at a quarterly basis, then that cash reserve might be a bit less, could be 9 million, could be 8.5, in which case then we would alleviate some of those funds back to members. Again, if the JPA was to break up or a member were to leave, that's why we've documented them in the form of a loan so that they can be repaid. And if they came from a general fund, then they could go back there. Or if they came from the LTF fund, they could be used on roads.
Derek, there were some discussions, a year ago, maybe even as late as 6 months ago, of other agencies potentially dropping out of the organization. Have you heard any of those discussions since?
No, as far as I know, everyone wants to be a member. There is an exception with Farmersville and Exeter. Technically, Farmersville's in the Visalia UZA. City of Visalia provides fixed route service for both of those entities. Right now, TCRTA, as part of the pilot, is providing microtransit for those two entities. But we've been working with the city managers. I think ultimately, probably as the microtransit pilot closes, they'll decide, do they want Visalia to provide microtransit or TCRTA? So with that exception, one or more of those two agencies could leave the JPA, but we haven't historically provided services for them. The other members, as far as I know, we have support. In fact, before I go, I'd be remiss to say that we do very much appreciate the membership of the city of Tulare and all the support we receive from council and also from Mark and his staff. You're one of our biggest members, and we do appreciate your membership. And by all means, if there's anything I can do on the city's behalf related to transit, please let me know.
Long-term, maybe this is more a political issue than operational issue, but long-term, it would seem like Tulare County Rapid Transit would include all of Tulare County. So the future, who would discuss the future of eventually getting to the point to where maybe Visalia could come in, maybe Porterville could re-enter. That would be, in my opinion, the most efficient operation that we could have as far as rapid transit in the county of Tulare.
Well, I'll just share my thoughts on that. I think, when Porterville was talking about leaving, we had conversations with them about would they consider coming back ultimately. And what I had heard, again, these were individual, it changes over time, right? You have new city managers, new council members, but at the time, those individuals who were eager to leave also shared they'd be open to the possibility of coming back in the future. I think I've heard similar comments from Visalia, but the comments have been sort of along this way. TCRTA needs to prove that they're a stable organization, that their plan and model works, and that there's a compelling reason for us to come back.
Yeah.
And, I think right now the organization has been stabilized and they're working towards, the right sizing the program over the next year and providing some customization for the different cities. And I would say, give them another few years. And if everybody sticks around and it's working really well, I'm sure that there'll be a great argument made for expanding the operation.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. We have a lot of work to still do ahead of us to prove that the model can work as intended. But you're right, sir. The original idea from TCAG was that we would have one regional model. Visalia didn't elect to join. Porterville has since left. But if we do our job right, if we build the best agency we can, there's a chance that we can get that vision to come to fruition at some point.
And I should know this, but your background was with the county of Tulare, is that correct?
I've been at TCAG for the
Okay.
prior 10 years.
Okay, so.
And last comment from me, Council, really quick, I so apologize. Just want to thank Derek, want to thank all the city managers, want to thank Josh McDonald. You'll recall, I did not serve on the Technical Advisory Committee, but Josh represented the city of Tulare, did a great job. And Thomas, when he came on board, he assumed that role for the last few meetings. And so I want to thank him as well. And all the other staff, Tricia, Michael Miller, everyone who provided a lot of input. It was a big lift to get here. But I think everyone, including the people who were involved in the past, everyone has the right intentions and the right desire to have an organization that's fully functioning. It took a little effort and, there were some things I think in the beginning that weren't set up right. There are some cash flow issues and reserve fund issues that we've talked about before, but it just took everyone working together to figure out how do we get to this place. And so I'm just grateful to everyone for getting us there. Thank you.
Yeah, agree.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, so we'll move to item 12, communications. Do we have any communications?
No communications.
Okay, item 13, council reports and items of interest, and I'll start as I always do with our vice mayor, Mr. Harrell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 21st attended the insurance meeting. On the 22nd, the State of the City, or I'd say our mayor gave a very outstanding presentation of the status of the city. And on the 29th, I met with, along with the manager and the mayor. I can't remember it was something to do with the railroad, but I can't remember what it was.
Go rail.
Go Rail, right. Had a discussion with him that the city manager brought up quite a few good points that they might be able to assist us with on some of the railroad issues that we might be having. And then the day, with the help of the city manager and Thomas, took care of a 70 or 80-year-old eucalyptus tree. It was about to be cut down and will be cut down, but that was dealt with also.
Council.
Yes, the only thing I wanted to do is thank Manny and staff for allowing me to do a ride-along with code enforcement last week and drive around my district and share some things of concern with him, and also learn from him the way they go about talking to folks, especially our Taco Truck folks, and taking a look at some of the blight and other issues that are happening around the city. So I appreciate the ride along with you and your staff. Thanks.
Councilman Maderas.
I also want to compliment the mayor on his presentation. That was the last thing I did before I left on vacation, and I got back at, I got stuck in Dallas and I got back this morning at noon, so I'm about ready to go to sleep, so let's keep moving.
Yes, Council.
I also enjoyed the State of the City. I thought it was pretty clever. Um, I don't know, those of you that weren't there, the police chief and our mayor were kind of hopping around town and highlighting, well, not the police chief brought him there, it was Pete Vanderpool, about county and city, projects that are really great to celebrate. So that was awesome. I met with Thomas and, Mark concerning the operations of the, future shelter. Also met with the code enforcement and encampment committee this morning. So things are looking so good at the encampment. If you haven't had a chance to drive by there, it's just really looking really good. And the care that, Manny and his team are giving that facility is, phenomenal. So thank you.
All right. Yeah, thanks for everybody that's in the State of the City. Great, really the response that I got was the great energy that came out of it. And I was really happy that from the feedback that I got from folks, as the Sun Gazette even touched on, and I appreciated their summary article, was about collaboration. You heard tonight about TCRTA, you've heard about other organizations, elected officials, agencies. It was really about collaboration and the importance that means for what we've done, what we have, and where we're going. As Vice Mayor Harold touched on, and City Manager with Go Rail, it was an interesting meeting. I was a bit distracted at first, got to the meeting, but to listen to the topics of the depth of Go Rail representing, was it BSF or and the other rail lines and rail companies, of how we get just the depth of how we go about getting Tulare's issues in front of the railroad and walking through that. So Mark, thank you. You did touch on some very pointed issues, from women's clubhouse to land use to encampments to railroad with economic development. And it was kind of a rail 101 meeting stuff. All right. Anything else to touch on? Okay. So council reports and items, that's where we are. Number 14, consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered by the council to be routine and will be enacted in one motion without discussion. If discussion is desired, that item may be removed and considered separately. Council members, there any actions or considerations, or what would you like to
So,
do?
Mr. Mayor, if there are no questions or anyone pulling anything, I do, before I make a motion to adopt the consent calendar, I just wanted to bring up something I talked to the city manager about on 14.3. I would hope that there could be a little more balance on that committee with more women who are property owners downtown. And I know we have phenomenal women from our staff that are on that committee in the chamber. But I think, as I mentioned, it would be great to at least find one woman in all of downtown that can serve on this committee to represent. So that's what I talked to the city manager of, perhaps could be the goal of expanding that committee to also include a woman.
Okay.
So without anything else, then I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the consent calendar. Is there any other items or discussion from council members? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent calendar is approved, 5-0. Catch up on my notes. Moving on to item 15, which is general business. Comments related to general business items are limited to 3 minutes per speaker for a maximum of 30 minutes per item. Just as a reminder, if you are at home and wanting to speak on the general business item, you can call 559-366-1849. 15.1, first reading of ordinance to change council meeting time. You're presenting that one. Fantastic.
sorry.
Mondale, there it is.
I didn't even look at who was presenting it. I just assumed it was going to be the clerk. Okay, so council, you'll recall Oh, I guess I am the clerk. And so council, you recall at our previous meeting, we brought before you an item to discuss the possibility of changing the meeting times. We discussed the fact that a lot of our meetings tend to go till 11 o'clock at night, and I think all of us are really worn out at that point in time, and maybe not being able to give every item the attention that we'd all like to provide to it. And so we thought by starting the meetings a little bit earlier, we would have a little bit more gas in the tank by the time we got towards the end of the agenda. And so I think we discussed, and I think generally speaking, I felt like there was consensus that 5:30 seemed to be the right amount. There was, first of all, willingness to change the time. We recognized we needed to do it by ordinance, and there seemed to be general consensus around 5:30 p.m. We still haven't worked out with precision when special meetings would start. Our current thinking is that maybe what we would do is if we have an item, if we can, we would do a special meeting starting at 5 p.m., do a half-hour item, and then if we needed to break it up and have a different item, let's say at the end of the meeting, we could do that. In some cases, we might reach out to you and say, hey, I know several of you work. Could we start at 4:30 on this date? So we had an hour. We still are working through that. Part of the thing we thought about is we would just bury those items right into the council agenda and just have it as part of the regular agenda. So we're still working through those details, but we are recommending that you move forward with consideration in the first reading of this ordinance to change our meetings to 5:30 p.m. Staff's available to answer any questions.
Is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak on this? Madam Clerk, anyone on the phone? Okay, council members, any questions, comments? No? No, I did ask.
I'd already changed my calendar, not realizing that we had to go through this process.
Okay.
If no one has any other comments, I'll make a motion to adopt the first reading of this ordinance and have it passed to print as indicated in the staff report and as presented by our clerk, subject to prodding from our chief deputy clerk. How's that?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to pass to print ordinance repealing and replacing section 1.16.010, time, place of regular meetings, chapter 1.16 for council meetings start at 5:30 as discussed. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Now, just for clarification, it'll come back at the next meeting for the second reading. Is that correct? Then we have to have a 30-day period before it's actually adopted?
That's correct. Well, it will be adopted on September 16th, but it takes effect 30 days thereafter.
So it'll be sometime in October, probably.
If the council wants to start the 5:30 meeting start times right away, it would be the second meeting in October that it would be effective.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on our agenda, item 16, future agenda items. We had none submitted. Item 17, we're to staff updates. Mr. Orr.
Good evening. Nothing to report. Thank you.
Nothing to report.
Nothing for me either.
Nothing to report.
Nothing for me.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report.
Nothing.
Nothing. Thank you.
Nothing to report.
I'm starting to feel there's a conspiracy here.
I'm not one to break a streak. So nothing.
I am one to break the streak.
Yes,
unfortunately.
Mr. Monday, you got the last
I
word.
apologize for that. I think they were all giving me their time. So a couple weeks ago in the weekly report, I sent you some special work sessions and presentations we're going to have here through the balance of this year. We've got a lot coming. Very excited about it. I kind of look at the last 4 years sort of as phase one of the things we're trying to get done. We've got a bunch of big projects. We've implemented the Big Five and a lot of different initiatives throughout the city organization. And those are coming to a close. And, some of them we still have to tweak and try to get them to operate better. We still have the homeless shelter coming online, hopefully in that January, March timeframe next year. But now we're going to start bringing you a list of other types of initiatives and projects. And I just want you to understand that when we bring them to you, they're not coming to you with a specific, hey, we need you to vote on this today. I mean, in some cases we might say, hey, we're looking for direction, or we might pull a piece of it out and say, we're asking you to vote on this piece. largely what I'm going to be doing is asking you to continue to consider it. My hope is that you'll do a few things. You'll, at the end of all of these, well, when we present them, hopefully you'll say, okay, we're open to you continue to go down the path. In some cases, we'll have to spend a little bit of money. In no cases are we talking about spending a ton of money. But trying to keep the balls moving and continue to explore them to see what makes sense and what will work out. As we talk about the projects, you might say, I like this, but I don't like that aspect. Can you tweak this? Can you change that? That'd be very good information for us to know. And I'm not really necessarily asking you to prioritize one over the other, although I will later. So you're going to get these now over the next few months. We'll work on them. Hopefully you'll say, yes, keep working on them. And then what'll happen is we get into the strategic planning session next January. So I'll give you a big update on where all of those are at. And at that time, I'm going to say, okay, here's what they're looking like. Let's continue to work to prioritize these. Which one do we want to move forward first? Which one do we want to spend more money on? That kind of thing. Because as we work on them, remember, I think you've seen this over the last 4 years. We have ideas and projects, but we're always trying to find other people's money to use to fund them. We're trying to get other partners. These projects are going to be a little bit unique in some regards because some of them, the first big 5 projects were our projects. We owned the land, we had the money, we moved the project forward. These projects are going to start to get more complex. We won't have all the money. We might not own the land. We might need other partners to come in and contribute. We might have multiple partners. They might be more complex land deals in terms of how you structure them. So I'm giving them to you in small doses. We take a little bit, we understand it, we absorb it, we make modifications, and we keep bringing it back in phases. As we go through this, you'll have a lot of questions. That's why we're giving you a lot of time to be looking at them. Some of that calendar is going to get moved around a little potentially, just because we might have to move something forward sooner, or we might have an opportunity we want to bring them. There's some things that we didn't put on that schedule because some of them are going to just show up actually on the council agenda rather than a special work session. There'll be an agenda item for us to discuss. So if you go back and look at that again and you see, you're curious, like, well, where's this or where's that? I thought we were going to talk about this project and you don't see it on there, let me know. We'll either try to fit it in, or some of them, I even indicated some of them might kick over into January next year, just because I don't think we're going to be far enough along to share substantive information with you. Some of them that are in our control, like the Sustainable Goods Movement Study, that's TCAG doing that one. We're just a participant. So anyways, I just want to tell you, I'm really proud of the work we've done. I'm really proud of the way council has absorbed these ideas and moved them forward in phases. And I'm looking forward to hopefully your continued support to take that same philosophy going forward. That's all. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. We can let the public know here that we have a concert coming up on Friday. We have the Flock of Seagulls and Starship. Starship, I'm talking to the public member we have in the audience here. Starship is a band that's really interesting. They started out as Jefferson Airplane, or I think that's what it's called. And then they've grown over the years into, transfer. They had hits in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. So really exciting concert coming up on Friday night. We are working on a Christian concert. We're not quite able to announce that yet. We have one of the bands booked. We're still trying to book the other one. Both of those bands have songs that are currently in the top 10 on the Christian charts. We are talking to artists for next year. I can't tell you who all they are. We're starting to get closer on some of them. I'll tell you, one of them is a Christian artist that currently has 2 top 10 songs. So very relevant, very current artist. So we're constantly trying to improve upon those things. Encourage you to continue to come up to the shows. Thanks.
All right. So moving forward on our agenda, actually, is we are going to go into recess to close session to discuss the following: conference with labor negotiations per government code 54957.6 for the agency designated representatives and regarding our employee organizations. Council, is there anything else we need to note as we go into closed session?
No, not at this time.
All right, we will recess to closed session.
I know.
3 minutes past my time. That's okay.
Got two. Do one more. One more.
Very close.
There's three. There you go. There you go. There's your third. Go ahead.
So we'll reconvene from closed session. Council, do we have anything to report from closed session?
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report, then we will adjourn the meeting.